They say it so often. I hate it. It's so cringy to me. The top review of this book is a 1-star review that misses the point so severely that it is borderline offensive. Why are you, as a white man? They will do anything in their power to make it to the finals, including, possibly, dark magic. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nova. I'm coming to you from the very tail end of my reading week on Sunday night, just to give a little introduction to this week's reading vlog. So this week I ended up reading 4 different things, 3.5, we'll get there. And I started the week off by reading a short novella called The Worm and His Kings. Then I ended up reading all of Juniper and Thorn, which I gave the physical book back to the library already. And then the 2 library books that I do still have is Gone to the Wolves, this cover, and I ended the week by reading We Ride Upon Sticks. I just finished it maybe an hour ago. So yeah, without further ado, enjoy the rest of the vlog. Hello, happy Monday. I come to you from my very blank work office. I don't have much to do today, so I'm probably gonna like sneakily read something short while I'm at work. And last week I saw this recommendation for like a cosmic horror kind of novella. It's called The Worm and His Kings by Hailey Piper. I don't know anything about it. I'm going in blind, but the idea of cosmic horror interests me. I don't know if I've ever read cosmic horror before. Maybe like How High We Go in the Dark. I could see that counting as cosmic horror, but I'm fascinated. Even just like Googling it, one of the lines that sticks out to me is, "It is a story of transcendence in a way Lovecraft's work should have been." So I really hope it's good. It's only, 171 very small pages in iBooks. So when I get home later, I might do like a loose TBR for the rest of the week. I have a few books that I want to read this week because they're due back to the library soon. So yeah, I'll probably check in at home after I've read this and I'll let you know what's on the docket for the rest of the week. Hello. I hope the audio isn't too garbage. I obviously work very close to a train line. Yeah, I work in a very cute downtown, and so I walked over to a boba place and got some boba, got a little snack, and I'm about halfway through The Worm and His Kings. And it's interesting so far. It centers around a woman named Monique, and she's unhoused in New York City, and at the beginning it's told that her girlfriend Donna went missing like 3 months ago. There's like a monster that's almost like an urban legend kind of thing, that the people where she sleeps at night in the Freedom Tunnel, they call her the Gray Hill. Oh, the wind is going. Oh no. The Gray Hill shows up, takes someone, and Monique has a feeling that Gray Hill took Donna. So on a whim, she kind of gets up and follows her. Ends up underground somewhere where there's like some culty people who like worship the worm. Yeah, so shit's starting to hit the fan. Gray Hill, or the Gray Maiden, is connected to this worm. And it's fun so far. Some of the dialogue isn't the most realistic in my opinion. It's a little confusing, it's a little bit overwritten at parts, but overall it's good. I mean, I'm going to be finishing this in like a whopping 2.5 hours, so I'll check back in when it's not so windy. Hello! Makeup jump scare. I just filmed the beginning and end of last week's weekly vlog, so you get Makeup Nova today. So I finished The Worm and His Kings. Unsurprisingly, it was super short. It was entertaining, fast-paced. I gave it like 3 stars. It was fine. It had a lot of interesting ideas, and I typically really like novellas, but to be honest, I feel like this one in particular, because it's cosmic horror, because these ideas are so big, I feel like it needed a little more time to cook, I guess. So, okay. Pros. Overall ambiance. I liked the cosmic horror element of it and how it kind of got into like culty territory. I liked the exploration of like unhoused folks, specifically unhoused queer folks, and like the brutality of being trans and poor and having accessibility to gender affirming care and stuff like that. As for the cons, it was like a little overwritten in my opinion, and spatially confusing. So like, because the writing was a little convoluted, I had a hard time picturing where I was at any given time, especially because of the cosmic horror elements and how a lot of these environments are not normal environments. I just ended up having to like rewind the audiobook pretty often, like much more than I usually do, and it was such a short book that got kind of annoying. The dialogue was a little cringy at times. There's this one character in particular who's like 50, and you can tell like she's like the edgy older woman, and it just like didn't I didn't love it. Similarly, the main romance in this is a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old, and that to me ain't great. I don't love that. And it touches on the tricky aspects of an age gap relationship like that, but it from the get-go made it hard for me to care about that relationship because I just too much. A 40-year-old and a 20-year-old are at very different parts of their lives, and at least it talks about that, and I appreciate that. But it still didn't make me like the relationship that much. And also the older one calls the younger one mon amour all the time. They say it so often. I hate it. It's so cringy to me. Mon amour. I miss you, mon amour. No. No, not my favorite. Overall though, like I would recommend this. Like if you're a seasoned cosmic horror reader, you might like this more than me. I feel like it was just like a bit too confusing for me to fully like immerse myself into. And like the audiobook in particular was good, but it's one of those where you can't really just put it on as background noise. There's a lot going on and you will get lost if you like tune out for a second, hence me having to rewind pretty often. But also, can I just say with the audiobook, so the main like monster and also the little monster cronies, they all say like ooh. It's like all they say is like these like vocalizations, and the audiobook sounds so goofy. Like every single time, it just like, it wasn't scary. I don't know if it was supposed to be scary, but it was more funny than anything. I don't know. I would give it a try. It wasn't bad. I just think it could have been better. Hello, happy Tuesday. I come to you from my little TBR corner over here. Since I don't really bookshop a ton, this is where most of my physical TBR is. I've got like the ones I own and then my library books here. I've still got a few more over here, but I plan to do like a proper tour of my physical TBR. But for the purposes of today, I want to go through the books I really want to get through this week. Partially because I'm really excited, partially because quite a few of these are due back to the library soon, so I just want to knock them out. So as for the library books, I've already done these. These were Piranesi and All Boys Aren't Blue. If you want to see my thoughts on those, it's in the last weekly reading vlog I did. But the three that I really want to get through this week that are going to be a little more time consuming than usual, I tend to gravitate towards books that have like audiobooks that are maybe like 6, 7, 8 hours ish, so I can knock them out in like a day. I love sitting down and just like blasting through a book, but I'm excited enough about these that I'm willing to put in a little more time with them. So the first one I'm going to read is Juniper and Thorn. I've heard mixed reviews on this, but the people who love it like really love it. I don't know too much about it. I know it's about two sisters. I know there's magic. I know there's like abuse and stuff. Like I know this is not like a happy magical book, but I've seen enough discussion around this that it intrigued me, and my library happened to have it, so yeah. And also look how beautiful this cover is. Also a very cute thing, one of my friends did like an Instagram book review of the new Ava Reid book, and it was very darling. I'll link it below, but Ava Reid commented on it and I was like, okay, this needs to jump to the top of my TBR. The next book I really want to read is Gone to the Wolves by Wray. I've never seen anyone talk about this on BookTube, but I first saw it when me and my friend went to a bookstore, and we were both so taken by the cover that we like jotted it down, and it looks really interesting. Like, just look at that. But anyway, from what I've gathered, this book involves like heavy metal fans in the 80s. There's a disappearance. Apparently there's doomsday cults. Yeah, the blurb says, in his most daring novel yet, John Ray dives deep into the wild, funhouse world of metal true believers and the doomsday cults that flourished at the end of the 20th century. And that sounds really fun. I really hope it's good.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
So yeah, found this audiobook on Hoopla, so gonna try and get to this week. The last one I really want to get to that I've been meaning to get to for a hot minute is We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan. I have heard such great things about this. My friend highly recommended it to me. A bunch of booktubers have recommended it. My friend said that it had like one of her favorite examples of character work in a book, and that fascinates me. If you haven't heard about this, it's about a girls' field hockey team in Massachusetts, which I believe is where the Salem witch trials happened. Yeah. And they will do anything in their power to make it to the finals, including possibly dark magic or a deal with the devil or something like that. I can't wait to get to this. I've been holding off on reading it mainly because I can't find the audiobook anywhere aside from like Audible and audiobooks.com. So I was just waiting for my account to get another credit so I could use that. I think I mentioned this last time, but 99% of the time I'm like tandem reading. Brain broken a little bit. So that's just like the easiest and fastest way for me to get through books. But yeah, this one wasn't on Scribd or Hoopla or my Libby, so I did have to buy this audiobook. But it's so long that I feel like it's gonna be worth it. And I just have a good feeling. I have a really good feeling that I'm gonna like this one a lot. Especially because my friend who recommended it to me, I like trust her taste inherently. So yeah, I think the one I'm gonna pick up first, because it's due to the library sooner than We Ride Upon Sticks, is Juniper and Thorn. So that's tonight's project. I'm excited to start reading it. All right, thank you for coming on this journey with me. I will check in sometime while I'm reading it. Hello, it's Friday. It's been a couple days since I've updated on reading. It's been a couple days since I've read anything, but on Wednesday night I ended up finishing Juniper and Thorn. I really liked this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I'll get into why it wasn't like a full 5 stars for me, but I mean, this is beautifully written. There's no denying that. It's flowery writing in the sense that in the first chapter, I tried to listen to the first chapter on audiobook while I was grocery shopping, and I only made it like 15 minutes in because I kept on having to rewind. I was just like missing so many of the details because I couldn't concentrate in the grocery store. So I got home and then I ended up just starting it all over. And once the initial world building kind of was finished at the beginning, I found myself really able to like sink into this world, into this town. So Juniper and Thorn is about a girl named Marlinchin. She's the youngest of 3 sisters. All of the sisters are witches and they have different powers, and their dad is the last wizard in their town. Marlinchin is kind of the plainer of the 3. The other 2 are like beautiful. They have really cool powers. I mean, she has a cool power too, but like theirs is a little more like, one can tell the future in water, one is like an herbalist, and their dad is very abusive and controlling. That's like the central conflict for this book. So one day, her and her sisters end up sneaking out into the town. They go to the new ballet, and she catches the eye of the main dancer, and the rest of the plot kind of progresses from there. I would say it's plot light-ish, but it has like a heavy emphasis on the characters themselves, on the sisters, on their relationship with their dad. This is not a happy book. It's like magical and it's got some whimsy to it, but it's like a darker toned book. Like trigger warnings for like very descriptive bulimia, parental abuse, incest. There's a full trigger warnings list in the comments on the Goodreads for Juniper and Thorn that Ava Reid herself put up there, so be sure to check that out if you haven't read this already. And I won't go into way too much about this because there's no shortage of videos about this book. It's done its rounds. I'm kind of late to this one, but one thing that I did want to touch on is, so before I picked this up, I had seen the video by Reads with Rachel, which I highly recommend, especially after you finish it, where basically, unfortunately, the top review of this book is a 1-star review that misses the point so severely that it is borderline offensive. It is offensive. I mean, Rachel talks about how like she was genuinely hurt by some of the things it said, but one of the main things that it was talking about is the sexual content in this book. And like, yes, there are sex scenes, but there's like way less of it than I expected. That original review made it sound like the majority of this book was going to be like these two traumatized protagonists like screwing each other for 300 pages straight. So imagine my surprise when there was like very, very little smut in this. There are a lot of sexual things in nature, but not all of them are good. If we're talking about the consensual sex between the two main characters, Marlinchin and the love interest Sevas, there is one scene that takes up like a page and a half, and then there's one that's like 2 paragraphs, and like that's it. That's it. So when I first started seeing reviews of this book and I saw like the controversy around it, I was expecting this to hit the ground running with like the sexual content. It took this long for them to even have their first kiss. Like this is page 201 out of 301, I'm pretty sure. And they just had their first kiss, and this is the first spicy scene, excluding like gross, groomy stuff. But yeah, there must be a lot of spice packed into that last third of this book. I would not call this a smutty book. This is also not a romance. And more than once I've seen people kind of harp on the romantic aspect of it. This is a book about 2 people who have suffered abuse who are finding comfort in each other. And part of that is very quick lust. Which does lead me to why I think this is a 4-star, not a full 5-star. I couldn't really believe the romance fully. It was very love at first sight. By the end of this book, these 2 characters have spent like a combined maybe 48 hours together, and it's saying stuff like, I love him so much it hurts. And I couldn't really believe that. I think they were very much in lust with each other, and I don't doubt that they fell in love later on. But I don't know, after 2 days, I found that a little hard to believe. But I did like Marlinchin as a character, and I did like Sevas as a character. I thought he was really interesting. But yeah, I was very much more taken with the rest of the book as opposed to the romantic kind of subplot of it, I guess. I would highly recommend it though if you're okay with the triggers. Like, I personally don't have any triggers in books or anything, so I didn't personally have a problem with it, but there were definitely some parts that made me flinch. There's like graphic vomiting scenes because Marlinchin is bulimic. But yeah, I'm gonna link the video that Rachel made on this below in case you haven't seen it, because it's a great watch, and it really it goes through and dissects that really cruddy review kind of line by line and dispels it. And I just think it's a fantastic video. That is probably the main reason I ended up wanting to read this in the first place. So yeah, Juniper and Thorn, great book. So next up on my docket, because it is also due to the library relatively soon, is going to be Gone to the Wolves. I almost said Gone with the Wolves. This cover, I'm so sorry if this is hurting your eyes. Here, I'll cover it. But yeah, I don't have much to do this weekend, so I'm gonna read this. I really want to get to We Ride Upon Sticks this weekend as well. I have things to edit at some point over the weekend because I have video editing to do now. But so yeah, I haven't started this. I've only read the prologue, I believe. Yeah, I read the prologue and I liked what I read so far, so I'm really hoping I'm gonna like this. I really want to like it, so I will check in at some point with what I think about this book. Hello, happy Saturday. I have a book-filled day today. Yesterday I didn't actually get to read any of Gone to the Wolves because I ended up filming for many hours. My roommate, bless them, got their wisdom teeth taken out, and so they were staying with their parents last night. So that was a perfect time for me to film and not worry about noise or embarrassing myself or whatever. Which means today I really do want to at least start it. But on my docket for today is I want to go to the library to return some of the books that I have read from the library and get some stuff for both this upcoming week for funsies and the full moon readathon that starts on August 1st. I've got a few books that I really want to read for the prompts that I don't have physically. And then I think since I'll be out and about anyway, I'm gonna pop by that really good thrift store I've mentioned before. It's only been a couple weeks since I've gone, so I don't know if I'll have really good luck unless they had like a recent big donation. But every like 2 or 3 Saturdays, I like to at least pop by and see. So yeah, I'm gonna go feed the kitties and then I will check in a little later. All right, I am done with my bookish errands. I went to the library mainly to get stuff for the full moon readathon, but I picked up some stuff that I might want to read this week. One of them is The Black God's Drums by P. Djeli Clark. There we go. This is the author who wrote Ring Show, which is one of my favorite books, novellas, probably ever. I read it like a year and a half ago and I like haven't stopped thinking about it. It's so good. And I don't know much about this aside from the fact that the blurb says a sinewy mosaic of Haitian sky pirates, wily street urchins, and Orisha magic. Honestly, I saw Haitian sky pirates and I was like, that, yeah, exactly. And this is super teeny tiny. I think it's only like 100 pages, 110 pages. Oh, and of course it's a Tor book. I've had such good luck with Tor books, so I feel like I'm gonna love this and just like blast through it in an evening. I also got Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. This is another book I actually don't know anything about, except I see this recommended constantly. And I found the audiobook on Scribd, I believe. Either Scribd or Hoopla, I don't remember. So it's a good excuse to finally pick it up because I saw it on the shelves, so. But I am currently sitting in the parking lot of the thrift store that I love to frequent, and they pulled through again. They always pull through. So the first one that I got is one that I'm not actually sure I'm gonna like, because I looked this up on Goodreads. I have friends who have given this like 1.5 stars, and then I have friends who have given it 5 stars, and I see it all the time on BookTube. So it is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This seems to be a lot of people's favorite thriller, and I've seen a lot of people saying that they are looking for things that feel like this. So for $2, I might as well give it a shot and see if this kind of thriller is my thing, because I haven't really read one. I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, but that feels like a different kind of thriller, and I didn't love that at all. So we'll see. And if I don't like it, then I just spent $2 whole on it. The next one I found, funny enough, I just added this to my want to read maybe a week ago. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, I have to grab it. It is Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. This cover is hysterical. So I saw really good things about her book. I believe it's called Broken in the Best Possible Way or something like that. And then in a different video, I saw people talking about this book in the comments and saying how they really liked it. With comedy books, I feel like it's very hit or miss. Like, if you don't vibe with the comedy, you do not vibe with the comedy. So I feel like I'll know pretty early on into this if I'm gonna like it. And this one, because it's the orange tag, was half off. So I also got this hardcover for $2. And this one's probably my favorite find of the day. This is Braiding Sweetgrass, and I have been wanting to read this for a minute. Ooh, the shadows are getting me now. But yeah, it says Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. And this is a nonfiction book. Someone is next to me. And yeah, this has been kind of pushed down my TBR as time goes on. So I feel like finding this physically in like pristine condition, that's like a sign, right? Like that's a sign I should actually pick this up and read it. So that's my little thrift haul. All of these total were $6 for all 3 of them. So I'm stoked. I'm glad I struck gold again. All right, bonus check-in. I went to another thrift store that's in the same chain as the thrift store that I really like going to with the good book selection. This one also had a really good book selection, so I grabbed a few more paperbacks. The first one that I grabbed was the black edition of Death Note. I don't read a ton of manga, and I don't watch a ton of anime either, but Death Note was the first anime I ever watched all the way through. Way back like a decade ago or something. So maybe one of these days I'll crack this open and read the source material, because I really did enjoy Death Note when I watched it. Yeah, I just mainly think it looks super cool. I wish it was in slightly better condition, but I can't really complain when I got it for like $3. The next one I got was The Girl with All the Gifts. I don't know much about this aside from it's a zombie apocalypse book. And when I looked it up on Goodreads, most of my friends were giving this 4 and 5 stars. So I feel like this will be good. I think I've heard of it before, maybe once in passing in like some booktube video, but yeah, seeing the reviews had me excited for this one. And then I also got I'll Be Gone in the Dark. I've started the audiobook of this before and I was really enjoying it. I don't know why I stopped listening to it, but it's probably time for me to pick it back up. But it's one woman's obsessive search for the Golden State Killer, if you haven't heard of this. And I believe this was published posthumously by her husband, Patton Oswalt, right? My roommate said really good things about this. I think they've listened to it on audio a few times, and I do love a good true crime, so I feel like I'm gonna really enjoy this. I mean, this is a bestseller for a reason, so yeah, not a bad thrift shopping haul between the 2 locations that I went to and all the books that I got at the library. All right, I'll see you when I head home.
Hello, happy Sunday. Cutting in real quick before we move on to We Read Upon Sticks, because spoiler alert, I'm already reading that, to say that I DNF'd Gone to the Wolves. I made it 60 pages in, which I feel like is a valiant effort, right? This wasn't only like a 3 strikes you're out situation, this is like a 4 strikes you're out situation. So first, the dialogue was like super cringe. Like the way it talked about like metal music and all of the details and stuff, it just felt very like info dumpy of like the author being like, look how much I know about heavy metal music. Felt weird, but I was willing to at least give it a little bit more of a shot. And then, okay, I do not personally believe that an author has to be queer and out in order to speak about queer topics in books, right? For example, the whole thing with the author of Love, Simon, who was not out when she was getting criticized about writing about gay characters, right? I don't think she needed to be out. But I will say, if you're actively using the F slur often in the first 60 pages, it just feels a little weird. Feels a little weird. And I get that it's the 80s, but like, it's like not relevant to the plot at all. At least not in the first part. So, strike 2. Strike 3 came when the female love interest was introduced, because that was one of the most egregious, like, manic pixie dream girls I've ever seen. Like, this just felt like some white guy metalhead writing his fantasies about, like, a beautiful blonde metal GF. Like, so bad. She, like, didn't speak like a human being. And I was already feeling, like, a little weird. And then not even 10 pages later, one of the bully characters like used a racial slur against black folks to one of the main characters who's black. And like, I don't know, with the vibes of the rest of the book, that was just kind of like strike 4 for me. I literally closed the book halfway through the chapter because it like wasn't the N-word. It was like another slur on page that like I had a feeling was not a good thing to call someone. And then I promptly Urban Dictionary'd it to see if my assumptions were correct. And they were. And so why are you, as a white man, openly using racial slurs like as a joke? Felt really bad. So page 60, close the book, put it back on my shelves to return to the library. I do not have time for bad books. And I don't DNF often. Like this is maybe my like 4th or 5th of the entire year that I've DNF'd, but I don't have time. But anyway, last night I started We Read Upon Sticks, and I took a little clip last night, so I will usher you over to that clip, and then we will continue on with We Read Upon Sticks, which I am loving. So we're turning this around. Also, here's a full view of my beautiful bookshelf. But yesterday, when I was on my way home from the thrift stores, I stopped by Five Below and got this little cart for $10, and I think it's super cute. If you're a K-pop fan, you'll understand who this little wolf guy is. If you don't
No, don't worry about it. But yeah, this is where I'm gonna be housing a lot of my physical TBR, and I think it looks super precious. That's my stack of library books. And yeah, it's coming together. I'm making room. Hello, we are not gonna talk about the fact that I'm wearing my glasses, but I am 30 pages into We Ride Upon Sticks, which is the end of the first chapter, and oh my god, I'm loving it so much. It's such a good palate cleanser from the mess that was those 60 pages of Gone to the Wolves. But yeah, this kicked off much earlier than I expected it to, because like, from what I knew, field hockey team are doing some magic stuff to like ensure that they make it to the state finals. What I didn't expect is that like they found the magic stuff before the book even started. I expected that it would have started with like, oh, here's our kind of bad field hockey team. Oh, look, magic stuff. And then that's when it starts, like at least like a couple chapters in. But no, like right off the bat, it's talking about how they've started. I don't think they fully understand what they're doing, but they know something is happening magic-wise. Here's what's getting me though. I cannot tell what point of view this is in or whose point of view this is in. So like whenever it's talking about like them as a group, it keeps on saying we, like we got in the car, we took the exit, we were excited for this thing, right? But no one has addressed the narrator directly. There hasn't been a single instance of like I. So I thought it was going to be in first person, but the whole first chapter is kind of like a little bit info dumpy with like all of the names of all the characters. And I'm not necessarily having a hard time keeping up with them, but so at the beginning of the book, there's this list of everyone on the field hockey team, right? And so I was like, okay, process of elimination. Whoever hasn't been mentioned on this team is going to be the point of view character. But then, one by one, everyone started being mentioned. Everyone on that page has been mentioned in like the third person. So I don't know who that leaves. I don't know whose point of view we're in. But I'm fascinated and I'm loving it. I'm loving this writing. I'm really, really excited to get into this. Today's been like a weird migraine-y day, like all throughout book shopping. And then when I got home, I've had a little bit of a headache. So I don't know how much further I'm going to make it into this tonight. Probably one more chapter and then I'm going to finish this off tomorrow. So I will talk to you then. So, hello, it's me again. So, I am currently 150 pages into We Ride Upon Sticks. And this is fantastic. This is so good. This is living up to all of the hype for me. This is such a big cast of characters that at first I was like nervous about not being able to keep them straight in my head, but I'm not really having an issue with that because Quan does such a good job at differentiating these people and you learn about them very like organically, so it doesn't feel super confusing after a few chapters. And I understand what my friend was talking about with how good the character work is because they feel so real, and in a few of these chapters individual girls have like whole sections dedicated to them and their backstory and how they're feeling about like the whole situation with the team. And I have a feeling we're going to get that throughout the book, so by the end of the book we'll have a really, really good grasp on all 11 players on this team. So right now in the book, and this isn't really a spoiler, essentially they're just kind of doing like general mayhem, right? And this seems to be making whatever black magic that they did, making the power like stronger, right? And so the stronger the power, the better they're doing in their games. And so they're full steam ahead on the shenanigans. So I will pop a spoiler bar here for just like 2 seconds because it's relating to what I was talking about in the last clip from last night. So about the points of view, like I said, we have gotten name drops of everyone in this team, right? So we are not in the point of view of any of the girls on this team, but it is referring to everyone as we did this, our team, our, right? Like that's in first person. The rest of it's in third person. And so I started thinking that like, it felt like the narrator is like the collective consciousness of the entire team.
And then it started mentioning that essentially they're starting to like share each other's thoughts and stuff, like almost like a hive mind between the whole team. And so I feel like I was right. I feel like we are being told this story from the perspective of like the collective hive mind of this team. And that is so cool. I mean, I feel like I've read so much. I feel like I should be like 2/3 of the way through this book, but I'm not even halfway through. So I'm so excited to finish this. I'm definitely finishing it tonight. I want to start fresh with a new book tomorrow. Get this returned to the library, get Gone to the Wolves out of this house. We are not carrying this energy in this household. But yeah, I guess I'll check in. I would say maybe when I finish the book, but if there's anything of note between now and then, I will pop back in to share my thoughts. This was so good. I loved this. I could not put this down. I read up until like chapter 2 last night and then read the entire rest of it today. And this is a heftier book. This audiobook is like 14 hours long. That's one of the longest I've read so far this year. But yeah, this was fantastic. I ended up giving this like 4.5 stars, a very, very, very strong 4.5 stars. And I think I'm just gonna bump it up to 5 stars on Goodreads. But yeah, the writing, I really, really connected to the writing. I saw some people saying that the writing was dense for them, and I agree to a point, but it really worked for me, especially with the audiobook. I thought the audiobook was really, really good, and it really brought to life this like very conversational and dense and funny writing style. And also, yeah, I mentioned it in the more spoily sections of the previous clips, but this is written in the first person plural, which a lot of the time it reads like third person, but sometimes you'll get the we's and the ours, and you're hearing from like the collective mindset of this group of girls, and I just think that was a fascinating choice. I've never read anything like that, and I mean, very similarly to how I really like books that are written in the second person, I think if I can find more books that play with first person plural, I would love to give them a shot. There's just so much of this author in this book. I believe the author is Black and Vietnamese, and there's a Vietnamese character and there's a Black character in here, and they talk about their struggles going to school in a very, very white predominant high school. And this talks about like the experience of teenage girls as a whole in high school. I mean, this centers around the Danvers High School field hockey team of 89, and that's literally the school and the team that the author played on and graduated in 89. So you can tell there's like so much that this author has put in there, and this just feels like the truest epitome of like a passion project. And when I can feel that something was written with so much love and care, I'm gonna connect to it. And you can tell, and it's very easy to connect to these characters. And there's a lot of them. There is, I mean, just the team themselves is 11 people. So from the beginning, you're having to keep track of all these people. And after a few chapters, I wasn't having a hard time keeping up with them. And I genuinely ended up caring for all of them, especially the ones that got their own dedicated sections, the backstories that you got of these characters. I mean, the character work, like my friend said, is exquisite. Like, everything about them felt so real. And even though this is a really weird book, at the heart of it, it's a very weird book, but these characters did feel so real and like grounded in reality. I think the only things that would have bumped this to like a perfect 5-star for me is because I like more plot-driven books, a little more plot would have been nice. There's like a through line of them playing all the games in a season leading up to the finals, like kind of tying it together. But aside from that, there's not like a ton of stakes, and
given that this is a book about a field hockey team messing around with black magic, I kind of wish there had been like a little bit more of a darkness there, or like a fear that something bad's gonna happen. And like a part of me thinks that like maybe some of this could have been cut down, but as I was reading, I never felt like a section could have been cut. Like it all felt very important, and I was never disliking anything I was reading. I don't know what she would possibly cut, so I'm very conflicted there. But yeah, I just wish this had like a little more of like an oomph to it, you know, to really push it up to that 5-star. And I feel like this ending is either going to be perfect for a lot of people, or it's going to make a lot of people mad. Like me personally, I don't really care either way. I liked the way it went, but if it had been a different ending, I don't think I would have disliked that either. But overall, like, I feel satisfied. Like, all of the very many plot threads that were weaved throughout this book, I feel like came to at least a simple conclusion. And as long as there's not like open plot threads at the end of the book, for the most part, I'm gonna be happy. But yeah, I highly recommend this weird book. It's so weird. Certain parts of it were just like baffling, but yeah, especially if you like 80s inspired books. I mean, this takes place in the 80s. I mean, I just recently read My Best Friend's Exorcism, and I feel like a lot of the 80s references were kind of shoehorned into that one. But all of the references to the 80s in this one, like the movies and music, it felt a lot more organically woven into the story and not as shoehorned in. But yeah, this was fantastic and a wonderful way to end my reading week. And I believe in 2 seconds, I'm going to wrap up the video, so I will see you there.
2 seconds later.
Hello, Nova from the very beginning of the video. End of week. It is very late on Sunday, technically Monday morning, but I wanted to wrap up the week really quick. So I started the week off with The Worm and His Kings. I thought it had a lot of really interesting ideas. I don't think I clicked with the writing that much, and I just didn't see those ideas really come into fruition the way I would have liked them to. But it was a short read. I don't regret reading it, and I would recommend it to people who like more cosmic horror-y stuff. And I'm definitely not discounting the idea of cosmic horror, because I feel like I've read some books that have elements of it that I've really liked. I'm just kind of on the search for the right one, so if anyone has any cosmic horror recommendations, I would love to hear them. Then I read Juniper and Thorn, which I gave like a good solid 4-star. I really did enjoy it. The main thing is I just didn't really find the romance super believable, but I understand why it was written the way it was, why that story was told the way it was. And for the most part, for like the main plot thread, which I believe is the relationship between the main character and her sisters and her father, I feel like that was done very well. And overall, I really did like this. I think it lived up to the hype for me. And yeah, I'm really happy I finally got around to it. Then I end up DNFing Gone to the Wolves, which, you know, I gave it a shot until 60 pages in, but if I'm 60 pages in and there's like a checklist of things that it's doing wrong, I'm simply not going to waste my time reading any further. I think 60 pages was more than enough time for it to change my mind about the way I was feeling about it, and it didn't. And I haven't even seen anyone on BookTube talk about this book. I just saw this in a bookstore. Me and my friend were like taken by the cover and jotted it down. And, you know, the premise sounded interesting, but yeah, it just definitely didn't live up to it. This is like a hard skip for me. And then on a higher note, which I just talked about, was We Ride Upon Sticks. I'm giving this a good 4.5 star, marked up as a 5-star on Goodreads, because like the things that this accomplished was really incredible. I would read Quan grocery list. I think this is fantastic, and I'm glad that I saw people talking about this on BookTube, because I probably wouldn't have picked it up otherwise. I'm not a sports fan, so books that center around like sports teams and stuff, I would probably need like a strong recommendation from someone, and I'm really happy I read it. This is definitely a character-driven book, and typically I like books with more of a plot-driven nature to it, but this character work was just exquisite. I'm really happy that my weekend was avenged after the nightmare that was Gone to the Wolves. So yeah, overall, I would consider that a pretty good reading week. Between Juniper and Thorn and We Ride Upon Sticks, I'm very happy with the big old books that I read this month. So this week, it is fully like 2:30 in the morning. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Subscribe for more. And I guess I will talk to you in the upcoming weeks. I've got some really fun stuff planned, so I'm excited to show you. Have a good one. Bye!